We are live. All right, peace, everybody. Once again, I'm back. I got a brother that, believe it or not, we was enemies before we agreed that we agree on or against more things than we disagree with. So he's going to be presenting to you all the occultism found in the Israelite camps. And it's called the occultism found in the Israelite camps. And mainly they do it because they're ignorant of it. They don't understand where these symbols come from and what these symbols are about. The one thing which we read in the Holy Mikra, which we learned earlier today, the Most High said, "Are my words not like fire?" In other words, it's the word of the Most High that purifies us. It's the law that makes us separate and clean and holy, not the occult symbolism. Israel was not allowed to deal with symbolism, and that was one of the many things that got them in trouble. So with that being said, I'm gonna give y'all my man Killer B. Killer B, you can have it. Take it away. It's all yours.
Shalom. This is Killer B. You got my spot here. Yeah, thanks, Chris, for having me on. Yeah, like I said, yeah, we used to go at it and stuff, you know, and we saw how stupid everything was. We straightened things out. Now we're a productive team now. So yeah, so this little presentation here is going to be about cults and symbolism and witchcraft within like the Israelite camps and organizations. Yeah, so let's start. I got a lot of slides here and stuff. I'm going to try to get through them as quick as I can. I don't want to keep everybody too long. So first off, I want to start with the scripture, Isaiah 5:20. It says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight." With that, let's get started. Cult Leader 101. This is a very important thing here. I got a link here. It was from a website. It's pretty on point. It's pretty on point as far as the things that goes on with leadership within these organizations in the Israelite camps. And if you sit back and pay attention to what goes on, because it's a technique, it's a reason why a lot of people don't see a lot of the folly and the lies, the slander, and all the stuff that goes on at first, because it's basically witchcraft that these leaders are putting on you. It's mind control, witchcraft, hypnotism. It goes on a lot more often than you think. You know, you come in these camps, when you first meet like a group, especially some of these young brothers and stuff, just coming in the truth, they find like a school and stuff to start going to. And you get there, you find out how everybody seems to love you. You know what I mean? Everybody's encouraging you. You get a good feeling, you know what I mean, around congregating around brothers and sisters in these groups. But as you go on, you start to see things change, especially when you start to question certain things that goes on. It could be just a simple thing as this one thing in their doctrine, and everything could just go left on you. So yeah, let's get started on that. See here, this is from a site called Off Black Magazine. It's an article that they put up. It says the Cult Leader Training Manual. Words by Dr. Jack Andrew Lantern. It says, first things first, you got to decide what you want. Is it money, power, sex, or sex that you're after? Perhaps you're an antichrist, but currently lack the charm or brains to kickstart your following and bring about the end of days. Whatever the case, this article should help you in gaining and maintaining that power over your flock. First, you got to manipulate to accumulate. Now, this manual isn't for people to learn to watch out. You can't look at it like that. Basically, this is a article on how to start your own cult. And as I go through these different stages of it, you're going to start to notice things within your own groups that you're in. So let's start get started. Says you got to manipulate to accumulate. Good cult leaders need an overwhelming sense of self combined with a desire for blind, unquestioned obedience. If this is found wanting, attend a few motivational coaching sessions and read some big banking CEOs' autobiographies. Removing yourself from society and repeating the mantra, I am the Messiah, in front of the mirror will help you develop your God complex. As you can see, a lot of these leaders and stuff, they have a certain, as you can say, swag about them. They stand out amongst crowds. It can be, they cannot say a word and you will notice them. This is all part of being manipulated and accumulating a following. Next, branding and identity kit. Once you're crafted your unshakable ego, you need to name a name for your collective, a concept to worship and cause to rally behind. Choose an esoteric name with a peppering of perspective hope, such as the Golden Dawn or Fraternity of Inner Light. Furthermore, Latin and other dead languages have an occult quality that draws attention while remaining obscure. Think of Ordo Templi Orientis or Opus Dei. You choose deity, your chosen deity or idol isn't important as your image, though. Your followers won't see the tangible, multi-tentacular space demon you've created. Before validity and persuasiveness, brainstorm something with foundations in another religion, making it seem like an idea that's known, an idea they've known their entire lives. Finally, decide your cause. This is your call to arms for your followers. Who is the enemy? Is it the corrupt Illuminati governments with their bloodthirsty foreign policies? A satanic capitalist society that crushes the individual beneath its cloven hooves. Perhaps you could be more inventive, something along the lining Wi-Fi connections that saturate the earth with negative ions in order to enslave the population. Whatever you've chosen, plausible or not, you're going to have to provide loose, circumstantial proof that washes with a few individuals. If you're still searching for idea, you two conspiracy theorists provide some excellent fertilizer for thought. Next, you have structure. Consider your community internal framework. Imagine the shape of your cult like resembling the endless series of Russian nesting dolls, each sliding within each other. On other outer paint faces, illustrate the most simple, alluring, and constructive features, with the more dark and manipulatory aspects cloaked beneath layers of mystery. As the individual uncovers more mysteries, he or she will believe they're on the road of self-discovery, intent on reaching the center, which doesn't exist. A lot of these cult leaders / Israelite camp leaders, you know, they'll present to you a doctrine or an idea or a way of life that gets you to have a goal. And like you have like rank systems, you have certain stages and degrees within these groups that keep you in there and keep you wanting more, that keep you want to learn more. But the learning never ends. It's a constant climb. And they will always keep you just below that point that you think you need to get to. Some people will spend years, thousands and thousands of dollars paying dues, paying for degree work, paying for rituals and all these certain things and stuff. And another thing also, money isn't always the goal of these leaders and these occult leaders and these camp leaders, however you want to call them. Money isn't always the thing that they're after. Some of these people, they have certain things going on with them. Some of them are mentally sane. Some of them, they're into other things like occult knowledge and witchcraft and stuff, which you will find out later, which we'll talk about and show later. A lot of times it's your time and your soul that they're after. They feed, like if you ever heard of a word, remember it's a type of vampire, like an energy vampire. Chris, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a person that comes around a certain mood, and this person comes around and sucks all the energy.
Yeah, niggas from Detroit.
Yeah, so yeah, you get things like that and stuff going on. And it never ends. Occultites, I think that's how you pronounce that. Next, you need your first occultite, who will be your inner circle, strong and welcoming. They will spread your message and furnish you with converts. Organize them into two groups, sycophants and enforcers. The objective of the first is to love bomb your audience, giving potential followers attention, while enforcers maintain compliance through strength and tough love. As you can see, one of the past groups I were in, I would fall into one of these sections of the enforcer. A lot of things will know, people have known about me in the past. And once again, while I'm on that subject and stuff, I like to apologize to a lot of the brothers and stuff. You know, a lot of these campaigns and stuff was put against a lot of these brothers. A lot of that stuff wasn't according to the scriptures, and I repent for it. And I hope you brothers and stuff can forgive me. And you have, like you see, you got to have that inner circle, strong and welcoming. And they will spread your message and furnish you with converts. So basically, a lot of these leaders too, they will study books and stuff like the 48 Laws of Power. One of them is, one of those laws is don't do something that you can have someone else do for you. And you'll start to see that a lot. A lot of brothers and stuff that come into these camps and these organizations, like you see, like, for example, IUIC, there's a current thing going on with the brothers. I grew up with them in that school. Brother was a very talented brother, and a lot of these groups, you get a lot of talented people that have a lot of gifts. And to acquire this knowledge and stuff, they're willing to take time out, work for free, and try to make the group as successful and productive as possible. You will start to see that a lot in these camps. So a lot of you brothers and stuff get paid for your work that you do in these camps, because you know the scriptures tell you, say, woe on a person that builds their house off your labor. It said his burial will be like the burial of an ass outside the gates of Jerusalem.
Hey,
and also, like,
real quick, so the stream don't slow down, because I'll let somebody in. Two more people want to come aboard. We got Marielle in the building. What's up,
Shalom, shalom. Killer B.
Shalom, brother.
All right, what's it called? If you got some questions and you want to add something, Marielle, he don't mind, because we want to keep the stream going, because what we're talking about is the occultism found in camps and things that should not be in the camps, and sometimes people are doing things that they necessarily shouldn't be doing. But real quick, Marielle, turn your camera off so it don't slow down the feed too. Bingo. All right, so so keep going.
I don't want to keep everybody too long. So yeah, basically these enforcers and stuff, and the other type of person would do things called love bombing. That's something you guys should make note of and look up on YouTube. It's pretty deep. It's like when you come into a group, you'll be showered with love, joy, support, and all these things. But once you question something, it will turn totally opposite on you. You get slandered, you'll get put down, you'll get harassed. A lot of brothers and stuff have been harassed and stuff. A lot of sisters been sexually harassed, get talked to all different types of ways and stuff like that. You start to see a lot of these things going. It's called love bombing. It's a cult technique. So you brothers could look that up and stuff on your own time and learn about it. It's pretty deep. Then you have like your flock. Don't worry about class backgrounds or social divisions in your budding congregation. As savvy as your followers think they are, they're not. Those from strong family backgrounds and seamlessly satisfied lives still have the desire to fill the void. Everyone is looking for answers, and they're terrifying. And the more terrifying an image of a great beyond or the enemy you can create, and more likely the followers is to join you. You guys said you could check this out. Cult leader training. I just want to get through this thing pretty quick and get on with the meat of the lesson. I'm just gonna move through this stuff. Daily life and conditioning. Ritual management is important. Create regiment order with a metronomic meeting at Pacific time, say Sunday at 10 o'clock by the fire pits. Filling the days of your followers with arbitrary, uniformly under the guise of social gathering, community meetings, and motivational sessions. You'll see that, i.e., like Facebook group chats. It's something it will just be blinging off all day, and you start to see you'll spend a lot of time away from family, away from a lot of things that you have to do, like in your personal life, in these groups, in these chats. A lot of these schools, they got classes every day. They have mandatory Sabbath where you have to attend. You have to give dues. You have to bring something to the table to keep the cult going. Fashion, you got certain camps and stuff. They have certain uniforms, very flamboyant uniforms and stuff. You're gonna dress up like ancient Israelites. They're going to have you like Buddhist monks. They're going to have you dressing like Indians and Hindus with turbans on and stuff like that. Have you walking around the neighborhood looking like a total idiot. And until you find the truth about the group, they ask you, hey, why are you wearing that stupid turban anymore? Yeah, you get stuff like that. Sex. Invoking the name of your deity trumps many other arguments, suggesting you are compelled by the pink wolf. It's a difficult argument to logically infute. This helps create your fertility rites and ritualistic sex sessions. An ancient fertility rite, sex was seen as a form of sympathetic magic for a prosperous harvest. Yet another reason to keep a small farmland on hand. If you're advocating free love, remind followers to keep it within the family and sow the seed to ensure a next generation of followers. We see that a lot in stuff today. So let's move on. Do some of my latest experience with some of the groups I've come in contact with. We have a thing where they'll say things like, hey, the ancient Israelites, the ancient Japanese samurais were Israelites. And they were, they kept the law and they're the super duper Israelites. Like you see one here that I had, for example, Yasuke. And a lot of times they'll tell you these things. And from all the information that you've been gathering, you just take their word for it. A lot of people won't look up these certain things. Like you see here, Yasuke was an African samurai. Comes to find out, they'll tell you, hey, they're Israelites. They're temple guardians and all this stuff. But when you get down to it, dude was an African slave. He could have been from Mozambique or the Caribbean. So this guy was a slave under another samurai king or noble. You can find out and stuff. His owner and stuff was a homosexual. All types of crazy stuff was going on. And then you'll find out also when you take a look what you get here. What was sex like in feudal Japan? Samurais often got with 12-year-old boys during official apprenticeships. Aristocratic men can have multiple wives and concubines, while their female converts were stuck with one husband. In feudal Japan, intimate life was influenced by social standings. It was a way of life for them. So when you go to look at it, is this Torah? No. This is another thing. You just look that up on your own. It's about the samurai. Okay, let's move on. Another thing, you'll start to find out certain things. So like I said, you have certain types of people in the group. This is one thing I've ran across on one of the members of the group that are in. These are magic tools for rituals and stuff and magic. You could research this stuff and you could come out like this image here. It's out of the Hermetic order, the Golden Dawn. And also will link with this group here. The Order of the Cubic Stone, which is a group part of the Golden Dawn. So a lot of things you'll learn and stuff. They'll tell you things about all types of esoteric thought, but they'll tell you that it's not wicked. It's a part of this certain culture. So since most of us here are Israelites and stuff, some of us are with Kemet. So stuff in the site you all will be able to relate to. So for example, this cube thing, they'll tell you that, it's in the Torah. This is what we represent. This is all about us. And like I said before, a lot of times it's not the money that they need from you. It's your soul. It's your soul and your time. Time is money. If you look at it that way. Then you start to research some of these things, but they'll put certain things in your head that will cause you not to look up certain things. Some things are drastically evil. Don't deal with that, brother. It'll put spirits on you if you go to that site. You know what I mean? And you'll start to see inconsistencies. You start to see contradiction and a lot of things because they're human. They mess up. But being a cult leader, you have to learn to clean up your mess very fast. Usually it's one of your enforcers that do it, or you come up with some clever idea and stuff to get your job done. Let's move on. Here. Like I was saying, this group used to say, hey, the cube was all about us. Come across it, you'll see little things like this. This is the Satanic Church. They gave a monument to this state, to this city, to celebrate the veterans of the United States. And this is what they brought, this cube. And as you go farther into this, see, that's another sketch of the cube there. That's another one. That's the actual cube.
Hold on. We don't see it.
You guys can check this stuff out.
Hey, Killer, we can't see it.
What was that, bro?
We can't see it.
You can't see it?
Yeah, we can't see it.
All right.
We just see the black stone.
Still can't see it?
There it is. There it is. Okay, cool. Good. All right. I'm going back.
You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So your stuff. Oh shit! I should have done that. Okay. Get back to where I was here. Keep this going. Boom. You do your studying. Always look outside the box. Since we talk about groups. This is a clip here. Some of these clips are from books. If you guys like to see the sources of this stuff, just hit me up and stuff. I'll be glad to show you where I got it from. they'll tell you about black, say, for example, Baphomet. This thing right here says the second theory of Zion, while not necessarily contradicting the first, suggests to rather later point of origin. According to the second hypothesis, the priory was the secret inner hierarchy of the Templars. Those who knew the hidden order as distinct from the open order. It was this inner elite of Templars who supposedly knew the so-called magical and alchemical secrets on which Templar wealth was allegedly founded. Who knew the location of the secret mines and laboratories? For example, the mine of Blasphemous in the Tower of Alchemy in Rennes. And who knew the truth about Baphomet? This Baphomet illusion, already referred to in the earlier passage, is itself worth further investigation. Some experts in history of the occult, and Dennis Wheatley among them, believe Baphomet was intended to represent the composite Eastern philosophical symbol of the absolute. The head of the goat, a black candle, is placed upright between the horns. There is a 5-pointed star in the middle of his forehead. The prominent female breasts are bright blue, and the wings which spring from the shoulder blades are golden brown, like the wings of eagles. The abdomen is green, the scaly reptile, and the organs of both sexes are present. Baphomet is a hermaphrodite. The legs are hairy and goat-like at the ends of the hooves. Each hand points in 2 contiguous fingers at the crescent moon. The left hand points down to the black crescent, similar to polarity, and right points up to the white one. Baphomet sits on a cube whose face may represent the 6 directions of time: space, north, south, east, and west, past and future. That's your length and your width, your length, your width, and your depth. The 12 right angles of the cube are possibly the 12 houses of the zodiac. Beneath Baphomet hooves lie a globe, probably the symbol of the world, like Rex. Baphomet is said to be the ruler of the earth. Here you have your black stone again. And here's your image of Baphomet here. This is Baphomet right here. If you guys look, I know you guys seen a lot of images of Baphomet, but if you really look at the image, he is always sitting on a cube. You see this right here. Let's move around. Also, you have this Shield of David, so-called Shield of David, the Magen David, the Star of David. You got all different types of names of it. There is no archaeological evidence of the Shield of David anywhere in Israel prior to the ADs. There was one artifact that was found, and there's many archaeologists saying that it's a hoax, which we'll show later and stuff in this presentation. This image right here of the shield is actually in the Temple of Baal. Here's another image of the shield in the Temple of Baal. And see right here, you have the cube, the shape with the angles here. You have the cube, that's the corner right there. And you notice here, this is a lily in the center. Jeremiah 7, 9, and 10. You will steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely, make offerings to Baal, and go after other gods that you have not known, and then come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we are safe, only to go on doing all these abominations. And this is what these leaders are doing to you, and you don't pay any attention to it. Sometimes you see it and you don't see it at the same time. Here's some more images like I just showed you too, also in the Temple of Baal. You see here, I know all you brothers and stuff, sisters know this logo here. This is my logo, currently working on a new one. This stuff don't affect me, so it's there for now, but not for long. I was taught within this group how to construct this. What you see here is a red triangle pointing up, and you have a blue triangle pointing down. The red triangle represents a masculine energy and also symbolizes with fire. The triangle pointing down symbolizes with water and the female aspect of it. And them together is basically like, it's like a sexual union, a sexual ritual. In ritual magic, the hexagon is called the Seal of Solomon and represents divine union, being composed of female, watery triangle, and male, fiery triangle. You see here. So again, the traditional elemental triangles of earth, air, water, fire are derived from the seal. When the points of the hexagram are connected, the hexagon is formed. Kabbalistically, the hexagram represents the Sephiroth, Tiferet, and perfection. King Solomon reintroduced the six-pointed star in the kingdom of Israel. So the talisman of Saturn became known as the Seal of Solomon. This seal is also known as for a symbol of Saturn, which is also synonymous with Satan. As you can see here, this is an interlocking triangle with a circle around it. I don't know, some of you brothers might have been into Malachi York back in the day. I used to read a lot of his scrolls and stuff. And one thing I learned from him, the differences in the stars. He taught that the interlocking shields were used a lot for witchcraft and also the other flat shields also. But one of the important things here is this circle that's around it. The circle is a barrier. It's used in ritual magic, like summoning, invoking and evoking demons. And you would stand inside of this symbol in this circle. And what it would do, it will form a protection for you to keep the demons contained within the circle. So they can't find a way out and go about their business when you invoke them or invoke them. One is actually bringing the demon into manifestation, and the other one is bringing the demon into yourself to take your own body over. So a lot of this stuff goes on. Shout out to SOT, the brothers from Harlem and stuff, one of the original One West guys. They told you how one of the brothers found a wallet of one of the main leaders in the UPK group, and it was a symbol. It was a book with these occult hand signs and talisman symbols. So you guys could hit him up and get some of that information too. The six-pointed star engraved in the talisman of Saturn, which is used in ritual magic. The bull's head enclosed is a six-pointed star and surrounded by letters composing the name Renfa, the planetary genus of Saturn, according to the alphabet of the Magi. The bull represents Moloch worship and ultimately Satan worship. You can move this along. Hexagram equates to 666, what Jesus said is the sign of the beast, blah, blah, blah. Right? We're going to get on to that later. Here, you also got the in Babylon, that pentagram, that cube. Like here, what you have, these lesser numbers, these are called the a magic square. You add up these numbers in any direction, they'll all come to the same sum. As with this, I guess they all add up to 111. And when you calculate the sides together, you come up with 666. The Israelites worshiped the star and foreign gods and were punished for it. Israel adopted the six-pointed star in the wilderness due to the apostle. And the mark of Cain was worshipped by the Israelites in the wilderness as the star reference, which represents the god Saturn, also called Chian. Let's move along. Son of man, you have seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark. Every man in the room of his idols, for they say, the Lord does not see us. A lot of you camp leaders and stuff, you're out there, you're doing rituals on brothers. You're putting hexes on brothers. You're putting summoning demons to go after some brothers that aren't as strong. You see that a lot. Whether it's hypnotism, however you come at astrology, they're studying astrology. They're asking brothers when their birthdays are and stuff, so they'll know their traits and stuff and be able to easily control them and manipulate them. Let's move on. So I went and saw in there every sort of creeping thing, abominable beasts, all in the idols of the house of all of the idols in the house of Israel. And Ezekiel timed out what these people were doing. They were bringing these false idols into the temple. You have here in Jeremiah 3:16, and it shall come to pass when you be multiplied and increased in the land. In those days, says Yahweh, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of Yahweh, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done anymore. Here we go here with that 6-pointed hexagram, and you have the head of Baphomet inside, you know, with the torch, flaming torch is in the center there. It is suggested in Wolfram von Eschenbach, 1170 to whatever that is, I guess, give or take 1220. Parzival, the story of the knight in the grail, that the lapis excellis might be a stone which fell from the crown of Lucifer during the battle with the angels. That lapis elexilus is actually turbid. It's the foundation stone that was left inside the Holy of Holies during the Second Temple and time of Herod, when the ark didn't exist no more inside the Holy of Holies. And masonry is a symbol of higher degree, make a first appearance of the Royal Archmasonry. It is, however, ultimately connected with the construction of Solomon's Temple. In its legendary story and hence of importance in the first 3 degrees, care must be taken to distinguish the stone of foundation from other stones which play important parts in Masonic ritual, such as the cornerstone, the keystone, the capstone. These are treated under their proper headings. It must be kept in mind also that the stone of foundation in masonry is to be taken strictly in a mythical and allegorical sense. We're going to find out later and stuff, other people that look at things allegorically and not as historical record. According to Masonic legend, the stone of foundation was placed at one time within the foundation of the Temple of Solomon, and afterwards during the building of the Second Temple, transported to the Holy of Holies. It was in the form of a perfect cube and had inscribed upon its upper face within a triangle an infallible name of God. Masonic tradition further has it that the stone of foundation on which the sacred name was mystically engraved was placed by Solomon with solemn rites in the sacred depository of Dan and Asher and Mount Moriah, in the center of the holy place, where the ark was overshadowed by the Shekinah of God. Robert Emlyn writes that the cubic stone is a real ritual object, which allows the forces summoned by the Magi to be, which is the witch, the magician, to be set in motion behind the veil of ultimate reality. You will see a lot. There's a few groups out here that talk about the cube of righteousness and about the folded, unfolded cube, also aka the Holy Cross. These artifacts are from Babylon. I clipped off to say when the date from them were. I forgot right offhand. But you see here, people have been studying these geometric shapes and stuff for a very long time. Also by people that were dealing with Baal worship, other types of pagan deities. Like here, you see the geometric shape here also. We're going to get a lot more into geometric shapes later. This symbol looks familiar. It looks just like my logo, with the red pointing symbol, the red triangle pointing up, the blue triangle pointing down. This is actually what the old Ouija board from the 70s looked like. And this is Parker Brothers explaining it. It says Horus Eye. The pentagrams, sun, moon, and Saturn are depicted around it here, which represents Satan. Notice the hexagram has two colors, two triangles, which mean ritual sex. Saturn, Satan being the phallus, and the female Venus, queen of heaven, being the pentagram. And we're going to get into this pentagram already. It's going to be something that a lot of you brothers have never known. And you Christians and stuff, watch out for that. The Ouija board is used to talk with demons by Parker Brothers, best-selling game in the U.S. Here we have, I hope this takes place here. Please play. Okay. Let's go play. Yep, here we go. Check this out.
The Rothschild dynasty.
Now, this next symbol is the foulest, the most evil of all symbols in the occult world. There is nothing that can even come close. It is known as the hexagram. It is the six-pointed sign of the circle surrounding it. It is this symbol that must be used during high ceremonial magic or high ceremonial witchcraft when you are summoning up demons to this plane of existence.
The hexagram must be printed to call forth a demon, and it is a very powerful tool to invoke Satan. In fact, the word hex, to put a hex on someone, derives from the word hexagram. So to show you guys that, we're going to see some more on that there also. Let's see here. I'll close this up here. What's going on here?
The Rothschild dynasty.
Wow. Come on. So you're gonna close up. Chris, still with me?
Yeah, I'm still with you. Keep going. I got you. You were scared to do the teaching today, talking about you weren't going to be able to hold your own. I told you, you're doing fine.
It's the foulest, the most evil of.
All right. Oh, man, I got to go. Let's see here. Okay, where I left off here. Sorry about that. Boom, here we go. Oh, okay. Sorry about this. Image got deleted by accident. Okay, what are we gonna get to here? Is that it? No, that's something else that got deleted. Sorry about that. I believe that was a image of the 33rd degree from Masonry with the eagle looking in both directions, and has a crown with the cross on top of it. Here we see here is an example here of some of these symbols. This one actually is just from one of these Israelite leaders here. As you can see here, you have the pentagram with the circle around it. You have two of them here. And actually, I want you guys to pay attention to this cross, this crown here. And if you look closely, it has the cross on top. You go on to find out that's the Greek cross. This is the Greek cross, symbol for the Greek letter chi, the first letter of the word Christ. Greek cross is a cross where the lines intersect each other exactly in the middle, so that all four arms are equal length. This is in contrast to the arms of the Latin cross. A Greek cross may also have 8 arms, where the extra arms are placed exactly between the forearms. In that case, the number 8 is a symbol of the rebirth of Christ. Keep in mind for that. Remember I told you about the symbol that was on that pendant that was on the necklace. The Greek cross was not intended to represent the cross of the crucifixion, but instead the four direction of earth, representing the spread of the gospel in the four Platonic elements, which usually went the fire, air, water, and earth. The Greek cross was a popular floor plan to Eastern churches at one time. Keep that in mind. This style of cross dates to ancient Babylon, where it was the symbol of the sun god Shamash. Here we go again. Once again, we see these hexagrams. And this thing right here, you can't really see it, but I'm going to show you what it is. Unfollow symbol. The unfollow symbol or navel stone symbol stands for the center of the earth. According to ancient Greek mythology, Zeus sent two eagles in opposite directions to fly around the earth. Now, remember, I just told you about that image that was missing with the 33rd degree. If you guys look up the 33rd degree Masonic symbol, you will see a eagle with two heads looking in both directions. And it has that same crown on top of his head. Where you would meet each other would be the center of the earth. Around the Mediterranean, there are many unfollows, stones, to mark this mythological point. The most famous one is Delphi. It was a powerful religious symbol. Unfollow syndrome refers to the misguided belief that a place of geopolitical power and currency is the most important place in the world. See that symbol there? Look at it. That's it right there. Let's move on. Oops. Now, once again, you see this symbol here. It's a ring. If you look real close at it, it's actually a snake eating itself. Fringe masonry encompasses those regular Freemasons who interest in mysticism, and the occult led them to such organizations as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Ordo Templi Orientis. Neither of these organizations was recognized by any regular Masonic body. Now, this is another thing that a lot of you brothers and stuff have to understand. Every little symbol that you see like this and stuff, you say, oh, this is Mason. This is damn Mason. That nigga's a Freemason. No, that's not the case. There are plenty of other esoteric organizations that are very wicked. They deal with a lot of things with demonology, Enochian magic, and you know what I mean, all types of sex magic and all types of other things. And they have no relation to Freemasonry. Some of them might be Freemasons, but they're in these other societies that are not part of the Masonic Lodge. Like you have the Golden Dawn, has no Masonic pretensions, but in fact, the founder of the OTO made such claims, open it to accusations of being clandestine or irregular Freemasonry. They seized the claim being or having any authority regarding Freemasonry. Currently, most Masonic Grand Lodge jurisdictions are unaware of or indifferent to the existence or the history of the OTO, which is the Ordo Templi Orientis. Here you go. Here it goes again. Show you guys here. Video. All right.
Today I got the idea in my head to do.
I'm going to get to the meat of this video. It's on the Ouroboros, which was that snake eating his tail.
It is the infinite wheel of cycles, the integration of the opposite and the serpent that slays itself and brings itself back to life. It is time, beginning and ending in primordial chaos. It is the most ancient symbol of rebirth and rebirth. The Ouroboros is an ancient symbol of a snake or dragon devouring its own tail. The first known appearance of this image dates back to the 14th century BCE and was found in the enigmatic Book of the Netherworld, which is an Egyptian funerary text discovered in the tomb of King Tutankhamun. The Ouroboros is mentioned in the writings of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato writings of the ancient Greek.
Is that what I think it is? It might be, is it? Nah, that's not ancient Hebrew. I thought it was with a scarab beetle in the center.
Mentioned in the writings of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato as a depiction of the universe. It also appears in Norse legend as the Jormungandr, a serpent of enormous size, large enough to coil around the earth and bite its own tail. You can find the image of the Ouroboros across cultures in the ancient Middle East, as well as depictions that come from the ancient Hindu traditions. There are also similar images which appear in ancient Japanese and the Neolithic Chinese civilizations, as well as among the indigenous cultures of South and North America. To the ancient Gnostics, the Ouroboros was a symbolized the cyclical nature of life, feeding on and emerging from itself. This symbol, this self-cannibalizing snake, is often associated with Freemasonic and Theosophical.
See that symbol there? We're going to talk about that a little later. You see that shield? And that symbol in the center is really important.
As well. It's also a pretty common. Please don't forget
on that. You guys can check that out also on your own time. That guy named is Creepy Little Book. Thanks a lot, Creepy Little Book. All right, now back to this here. We have other cult leaders, other Israelite leaders I've seen use this symbol on your T-shirt and stuff like that. A dream catcher. And what you have too, like I showed before about this whole samurai thing, and we ran Japan and all this stuff. And you have things like with Native Americans being Israelites, which I have no issue with. By the way, but a lot of these Israelite camps, especially when I started out too, if you were something other than a normal Judite or something, the other tribes usually took their culture very serious to the point where they would use customs from their I could say their pagan un-Torah, un-Israelite ways and stuff, the way they live. For instance, like the Mayans, the Aztecs and stuff, they were sacrificing people. They were wicked as hell. The American Indians and stuff, same thing. You got the dream catcher. Let's check out what the dream catcher is. Is this something that Israelites, according to the Torah, should be using? The dream catcher meaning derives from the ancient story of a special spider mother whose children, not spider mother, right? What the hell is a spider mother? That has to be some type of demon or whatever. Whose children moved to all corners of the land. Their mother and grandmother sewed magical webs for her children using cordage made from plants, sinew. Sinew is like the sort of like the tendons and stuff like in your muscles, and willow hoops. The dream catchers were meant to keep out bad dreams and promote only good dreams for children. The OG Bawe people first made the dream catcher due to intermarriages and other tribes, and concept grew and grew. It wasn't until 1960s, 70s that the dream catcher grew in popularity and spread to other cultures to share and enjoy the beauty. Dream catcher meaning has such beauty that it can often see a dream catcher hanging from the porch. I see people all around here and stuff using that. The fleur de lis symbol. You'll see this in a lot of Hebrew Israelite camp uniforms. The fleur de lis is a stylized lily or iris that is used as a decorative design or symbol. King Louis of France gave this lily a place in his family coat of arms. And under his reign, the lily became the emblem of French monarchy and the symbol of the Holy Virgin of Christians. Now, you have Israelite camps. They're using this symbol, but they don't believe in a virgin birth. The fleur de lis or lily French was an emblem of French kings. Let's move on. Witchcraft symbols everyone should know about. Within these beliefs, there are a variety of different witchcraft symbols. Here's your guide to some of the most interesting ones and meanings behind the symbol. This image and stuff got deleted by accident, which was the water symbol. Like on my logo, you had that blue symbol pointing down. This is what it was. Actually, this is the up part. The logo looked just like that, but pointing down. The symbol for water in the four classical elements in alchemy. It is an upside down triangle. Water is used in rituals when a Wicca practitioner is drawing attention to feminine energy. It also be used to symbolize the east or breath, life in general. Represents feminine energy, the womb, water, the west, healing. Used in rituals for love, emotions, washing away negative energy. You have the up symbol, the fire, it's red. Fire is one of the four elements of alchemy and is a triangle. Fire is used in rituals when a Wicca practitioner is drawing attention to masculine energy and transformation. It is strong energy that initiates, purifies, destroys, and begins something new. Represents fire, masculine energy, purifying energy. Used in rituals for purifying new action. Here's another one. The soul cross, also known as the sun cross or wonton cross. It's a circle bisected by 4 lines. With a smaller circle in the center, it can represent the sun and the earth in the 4 seasons or 4 elements. Another form of the solar cross is the swastika. Represents the sun, earth, 4 elements, 4 seasons. You're going to see this real quick here. Used in the rituals for transformation, ending, beginning in the solstice. This is one of the worksheets for one of these Israelite groups. As you can see here, you have the solar deity. The reason it's designed like this, we're going to have a presentation soon by another brother that's going to break all that stuff down. He gets really deep in the knowledge of it. Here's that cross, and you have the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall. See the cross there with the sun. Okay, we're gonna move on over this here. Like this. Remember that the cube, the unfolded cube? That right there. The pentagram in Hebrew is called the Hekal. And we heard a lot of these brothers and stuff. You heard of that before. The Hekal is the inner temple, and derives from the Sumerian Igal, meaning temple. It refers specifically to the Holy of Holies. But it's saying here the Holy of Holies, okay. In Solomon's temple. Hekal in Arabic refers to the human body. And it's thought that the pinnacle or 5-pointed star may be well connected with the planet Venus as both morning and evening star, which the ancient Hebrews and Canaanites worshipped as Astaroth and Astarte. She was otherwise known as the Sabbath bride and the bridal queen of heaven. Now, a lot of brothers in that group, we've run across that. And he was witnessed as the Shekinah or Holy Sweeter. The Nazarenes. We have some groups out here that consider themselves the Nazarenes. We're going to learn a little bit today. I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about it too, about a lot of the influences that the Essenes adopted. Ancient historians tell us that the Essenes were Pythagorean in their practices. These Pythagoreans practices were well known and well documented and can tell us more about the Jewishness of the Nazarenes, the Jewishness of the Nazarene sect than Rabbinical Judaism can. Rabbinical Judaism has, however, partially preserved one fact of the Nazarene way. That one was called the way, which is useful in modern Nazarenes, the Qabbalah, or the secret doctrine of Israel. Texts such as the Zohar, Bahir, Sefer Yetzirah, and others, when stripped of their Pharisee periscope and corruptions, reveal many of the ancient tenets and Kabbalistic musing of the ancient followers of Yeshua. Many of the arcane truths found in these texts are utilized in the modern Nazarene mystery schools. Excuse me. When combined with the Kabbalistic teaching preserved by the Pythagoreans, the complete mystical system is revealed. The Qabbalah, although well understood by the early disciples of Yeshua, who some people call Yahweh Shai, including Paul, does not now have much of a place in Christian Chris, how you say that word? I hate saying that word.
Which word are you trying to look? Which word?
Exegesis?
Exegesis, man. Exegesis.
The example of a surviving remnant of the 666 prophecy of Revelation. We're going to move on from that. Part of the reason for this may be that an early association with the Jewish Christians who came to be despised and looked down upon by later Gentile converts to Pauline Christianity. To be of any great value, the Kabbalah must be seriously studied for many years in conjunction with other spiritual disciplines, practices, sacraments, long rejected by the Gentile church, who sought the easy way when the Gentile church, under the influence of Paul's writings, rejected the Nazarene way, a spiritual discipline and study in favor and vicarious atonement and Roman ideas of salvation.
Hey, can I
also rejected all
right quick?
Yeah.
About the Nazarene exegesis. Okay, what many people don't understand is one of the things that the peace, a new era. One of the things that the Nazarenes used to do was they would grab a scripture from the Tanakh, which means Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketahim, which we learned earlier today, and they would grab a scripture and they would apply it to themselves. Like the story in the book of John, when the Pharisee came to John, they asked, "What doctrine do you teach?" And he said up there said, "I teach the doctrine of the one who sent me." And they said, "Well, who are you? Are you that prophet?" He said, "No, I'm the one in preaching in the wilderness." So he applied that scripture in Isaiah to himself. This is why it was called Nazarene exegesis. Now, also Jesus, he came in Luke, in the book of Luke chapter 4, he applies Isaiah chapter 61 to himself. This is what the Nazarenes did because they thought they were fulfilling prophecy by saying these things. And note, these are the only two places in the scriptures where the two progenitors of the Gospels are applying anything to themselves, where you see them reading and telling the people, "I am the one crying in the wilderness," and Jesus says, "I am the one that's here to heal the sick and help the blind." So they grab those two scriptures and they apply them to themselves, and this is what Nazarene exegesis is. And also they were scholars of the Kabbalah, because this is why you always saw Peter asking Jesus, or Yeshua, or Yahweh, or whatever it is people want to call him, asking him these questions. And he would always say, "I'll give you the secret keys to the kingdom. I'll teach you the keys to the kingdom." And he always spoke in parables, because Kabbalah means what? The secret things. And he taught these type of things which didn't sit well with the Pharisees, nor did they sit well with the Levites of that era, or in that during the first century. So this is the trouble that the New Testament believers run into, because you're telling them that their teachings were not popular amongst the Pharisees and the so-called Levites that were within the temple. They said, "This is new doctrine. We've never heard this before." And according to their law, they weren't allowed to teach anything new. This is when you had, they were also avid believers in dying for their lead teacher. They figured suffering was accounted to them for righteousness. And these people in this sect, they were what you would call today a spiritual hippie. They had nothing to do with any Old Testament prophecy or anything else. They just took scriptures and applied it to themselves. Okay, so continue on, and I'll get into the Pythagoras for you guys when he gets done. Go ahead.
Yep. But also when it says the easy way, Paul also was a Nazarene. Don't get it twisted. Paul was a Nazarene, but the beef with Paul was Paul was going to the Gentiles and making it easier on them. He was applying these ways, but he was saying, hey, you ain't got to do really all of that. Like, you know what I mean? You ain't got to do all, you don't have to be that strict with it. Because we're going to find out later how the Nazarenes, they didn't eat meat. They also didn't make sacrifice at the temple.
Hey, Killer, be real quick. We were saying exit Jesus. Brother Joel put down exit Jesus. Silly, man. All right, keep going, bro.
Yep. So when these people, like Chris was saying, with the way how they apply these things to itself, they dealt with allegory and stuff. As you can see, they dealt with Qabbalah. So your brothers and stuff that say you don't deal with Qabbalah and you're calling yourself Nazarenes and stuff, you need to, you know what I'm saying, reconsider some stuff. Look into some things.
Hold on, Killer B. Hey, New Era, we see in the chat room that you have some problems with some of the things, some of the information that we're presenting. What's up?
Oh, first and foremost, I would like to appreciate you, brothers. And always, it's a pleasure to be on the platform with you, my brother, even though you have the most profound knowledge of the OT that I actually envy. I just wish you would take time to do a better critique of the New Testaments, but that's not here nor there. And salute to the brother. He's doing a good job. But the only thing I would say to it is that that's not Masonry. We got to define what Masonry is. And a lot of people that are not in the understanding of Masonry will tie everything, they just blanket everything with Masonry. And
yeah,
cultism is a Masonry.
If I can say real quick, earlier I also said that how a lot of these things, brother, call Masonry isn't actually in actuality Masonry. There's a lot of things that people call Masonry that isn't really tied with it. But Qabbalah is part of Masonry. Qabbalah is part of a foundation of Masonry. Masons themselves say that. But yeah, thanks for your comment and stuff, brother. But yeah, we got some more information and stuff. You might think a little different by at the end. I'm not saying like the Nazarenes or Masons or none of that stuff. This is information. There's a lot of different angles and stuff that these people were going at, as we're going to see later. Everybody is adopting things from each other. Let's keep going. The Essenes observe strict religious orders. They function as scribes and prophets, studying and preserving scripture. The books of their sect. Now, you see that the books of their sect. So a lot of these other books that a lot of brothers are reading and stuff like that, they're not really part of anything of Israel. These are books and writings and stuff that these people have written themselves to use amongst themselves. Their work of healing involved ascribing properties to stones and roots for protection. And they were experts at foreseeing future events, like soothsayers. They worship in obedience to the law. There was daily instruction, except on Holy Sabbath. During instructions, they sat in order, one man reading, one elder explaining. And we've seen that around in our school. It's funny, too. A lot of these older camp leaders, so like back from the 80s and 90s, that era and stuff, they knew a lot of this. Because you could go to, say, like groups like GMS, you can see them actually acting these things out that you don't see in a lot of newer camps today. On the way how their groups are structured and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff was pretty much on point, especially the way that they thought and they dealt with certain situations. Was right out of these teachings. And they weren't really taught. Like, they were taught, but it wasn't taught as something that was in the book. Some of the stuff was, but some of the stuff wasn't. Let's move on. They were in disagreement over sacrificial systems in Jerusalem, either because of the priesthood or the calendar. They followed the solar calendar of Jubilees. So they didn't use a lunar calendar like the Pharisees and Sadducees. They only followed a solar calendar. They sent offerings to the temple, but no sacrifice. They made sacrifice amongst themselves, since their customs of purification were different. I just saw a video earlier of one of the first church that James ran. It's actually, they still actually have it. The Jews been throwing trash down there and stuff like that, totally vandalizing it. But they made a comment that they had actually 2 altars in the synagogue. I gotta look more up on that to find out the reason what those altars were for. Their purifications were strict. They washed in cold water for purity. And interesting, oil to them was a defilement, necessitating washing. As Chris made a comment to me the other day about the oil. Remember we was talking about that, Chris?
Yeah.
If you want to elaborate on that a little bit, we move on.
Okay, now the Essenes, many people always ask a question, like many of us brothers, we always ask y'all, well, where was Jesus anointed with oil? Now, the Essenes, I did a video on the Essenes and their practices and who they really were, this group of people in the Bible that you see teaching. The Essenes, they didn't believe in a number of things. They didn't believe in sacrificing. They did not believe in being anointed with oil. Here's the thing. They looked at oil as a defilement. Now they looked at this is why they didn't sleep with women. They didn't eat meat, because the meat contained oils and things like that. This is why they would purge themselves of such things. Now in the story we see where Jesus is anointed, where the prostitute pours oil on him and perfume on him. Now here's the reason why Judas freaked out, because he's become a member of the Nazarenes, and he's sitting up there saying, well, wait a minute, we're not supposed to do that. Remember, Jesus hung around a bunch of ignorant people that didn't know anything. Honestly, he did. It's just what it is. This is why he was able to convince them certain things about himself. This is why we read also in Luke, the 24th chapter, they said we thought it was him who was going to redeem us. Then you turn around in the book of Acts, and I'll get right back to it. They asked him, when are you going to restore the kingdom back to us? And he said, it's not for you to know. But in Matthew 28th chapter or the 27th chapter, he said up there and said all authority had been given to him. So we got some conflicting a conflicting narrative here. The Nazarenes, including John, their faith in him began to waver. This is why John sent letters, or his disciples amongst Jesus, saying, are you the Messiah? Because he did not want to be anointed with oil. He did not want to take the throne. They looked at worldly gain as what? Defilement. This is why you see in John chapter 6, verse 15, why he didn't take the throne when they were coming to make him king. He didn't want it. He went back into the wilderness. This is why they told him that he said, my kingdom is not of this world. His kingdom was amongst the Essenes. See, everybody keep thinking he's talking about heaven. He is not talking about heaven or some place in the sky. He was talking about an alternate kingdom, because the Israelites, they allowed people, the Essenes, they allowed people to join them. They looked at oil as a defilement. They looked at being rich as a defilement. They looked at being a king as defilement. Because honestly, according to the narrative of the Bible, it does say Israel was never commanded essentially to have a king. Their God was supposed to be their king. So they looked at those things as being worldly, because they believed that the Creator did not want them to be worldly, but be inwardly. The Essenes taught the way, which was the truth, and they walked in what they called the light, and they considered all the sons and daughters of Israel in the darkness. This is why they came into the wilderness. Came out of the wilderness into Israel. I hope that clears anything up. If you guys have any questions about that, you guys can go look at my Essene video I did. I covered a lot of that information. So, yep, they looked at oil, money, certain types of meats, kingship. They looked at all of that as being a defilement. Okay, go ahead, bro.
Yep. They also didn't believe in having sex. A lot of them were celibate, just like you see.
Correct. That's another thing. They believed in sex as being celibate. This is why Jesus, Peter tells Jesus, we forsook all to follow you, even our wives. He clearly says this because they were teaching that sex is against the kingdom, and women wear oils and fragrances on them, and they looked at it as a defilement to their holy temple, which was their body. Like a bunch of damn fools, if you ask me. Just another form of a cult. That's all it is.
We're gonna find out also. Damn, what's that noise?
Go ahead.
We're gonna find out also and stuff. What they thought of women also. Like we have this scripture here, this verse here. For we have found this man a plague, a creator of dissension among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. Acts 24:5. Brothers can look that out and see who they're talking about. Okay, let's move on. Qabbalah is an esoteric tradition possessed by Nazarene and other Jewish mystics. It pertains to mysteries of creation, redemption, and mystical exegesis in the written word. The tree of life, mentioned in the Essenes and Christian scriptures, is a Kabbalistic icon. Remember that with the tree of life, consisting of 10 spheroids and 22 pathways. This Etz-Chaim, or tree of life, represents a codified and living computer capable of containing, analyzing, and revealing all the hidden aspects of humanity's relationship with deity. It is of immense value to those who become deeply initiated into the Nazarite way. What is Qabbalah? From the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and the Yukon. Qabbalah and Freemasonry. Rooted in the ancient Egyptian mysteries, 3 different versions of basically the same teachings can be identified by 3 different spellings. Qabbalah, Qabbalah, Qabbalah. Qabbalah is essentially Jewish mysticism and esoteric school. Although the Christian church fathers of the first century were demonstratively Kabbalists, mystical, and Gnostic. Now, it says the fathers of the Christian church. The first Christians were Nazarenes. Nazarenes started Christianity. Mystical and Gnostic elements within the church largely disappeared within the first 3 centuries, only to reappear as a Christian Kabbalah during Renaissance. A third, often hidden stream of mystical Western philosophy observed many Egyptian, Jewish, and Christian mystical elements and termed them the Kabbalah. It's another thing right here that I've come across one of these leaders that are in possession of this. Brother want to deny it and stuff. We got some witnesses and stuff on it. It's called the 6th and 7th Book of Moses, the mystery of all mysteries, the citation of all spirits, the spirit of the burning bush, helmet of Moses and Aaron, healing of amulets, the wonderful, magical, and spiritual arts of Moses and Aaron, and of the old wise Hebrews taken from the Mosaic books of the Kabbalah and Talmud for the good of mankind. Blah, 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 blah. This guy that prepared it. So I have other books, the Great Book of Magical Arts, Hindu Magic, East Indian Occultism, Famous Book of Death, and Hindu Spiritism, blah, blah, blah. This rare old Mosaic book of the Talmud and Kabbalah. This rare and wonderful book translates under personal supervision and English language and published for the first time. This is a certain point I wanted to get in here. This is exact copies of 125 seals, signs, emblems used by Moses, Aaron, Israelites, Egyptians, etc. And the astounding magical other arts, including the period of time covering by the Old and New Testament. This wonderful translation is a great importance of the student of occultism. See here, basically, it hasn't loaded up all the way. I don't need to go any farther into it. Basically, it's a book of spells, and this things like from Psalms and stuff within their rituals. Recently we had a video and stuff where the brother was give it a reason to curse people and stuff with Psalms 09, 1 and 9. I mean Psalms 109. If you look up in here in this book, you will see, I believe it's page 166. It goes into using that scripture to bring witchcraft and put X's on people. So this is stuff that your group leaders and stuff are using behind your back, right on you. And by the way, this isn't from Moses at all. This is actually a book from a man from, I believe it's like the 14th century, I think. You got to look up the date, but it's not the Moses of the Bible. It's another man called Moses. So don't be curious and stuff with a lot of these books. Like, oh, this is an ancient book, like Book of Enoch or all that other crazy stuff. Just be careful at some of the stuff that you deal with. And don't be fooled by these leaders to get you into all this stuff so they control you and trap your soul. Okay. Let's move on. The earliest documents, 100 to 1000 AD, associated with Qabbalah, describe the attempts of the Merkabah mystics to penetrate the 7 halls, the Hakaloth of creation, and reach the Merkabah, throne chariot of God. These mystics used the familiar methods of shamanism, fasting, repetitious chanting, prayer, and posture. Excuse me. To introduce trance states in which they literally fought their way past terrible seals and guards to reach an ecstatic state in which they saw God. Actually, one of the members I got to speak of, he was actually part of the, he studied like the Golden Dawn and I guess the OTO and stuff. He's very knowledgeable in witchcraft and sorcery and occultism and stuff. He actually told me about one of these leaders, how it's kind of like the same thing as shamanism and stuff. You have to be careful when you're dealing with magic, because if you start not to obey these demons and stuff that you're dealing with, these demons, you have to do their bidding. Only certain people that's really high up in sorcery can be able to control demons. And a lot of times, if you're not careful, these demons can kill you. They can make you very sick, have all types of diseases and stuff. You can't sleep and all types of things. And remember, also, and especially the New Testament tell you that, sin is the cause of death. You know what I mean? And disease. So keep that in mind. See here, we go back to the symbol I was telling you guys about. If you look at remember my logo, it had a 9 in the center. We're going to look at this Hebrew alphabet number system. If you look here, the symbol for 9, the meaning for 9 is new life, right? And we got that Ouroboros. Remember what that's about? You have this shield, and it says here, the Ankh, life. So that number 9 in life has the same meaning. Look, the lower feminine arrow, matter, substance, interlacing of the triangle states the interdependence of spirit and matter. Also, Sat Chit Alanda, I don't know what that is. The good and beautiful, the true, wisdom, strength, beauty, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Like you brother that was in that group, you're familiar with that type of talk. Situated within the 6 points, 7 stars. The 6-pointed star equals 7. Because remember, you got your 6 points in the center, makes your 7. The 7 principles of the universe. So these people that say that they come up with all this stuff on their own, like with some gift of God and stuff, as you can see here, This stuff has been around a long time, and it's nothing hidden. It's very well known, this stuff. You can find all the stuff with, quick Google searches and stuff. A lot of this stuff, like I said, it's a lot of mind control that's put on you, and you're persuaded not to look into certain things and to stay away from certain things. Not saying that somebody warned you of something and you just go do it and find out on your own anyway. I'm not saying that, but yeah, you guys kind of know what I mean. Let's move on. Like I said here, that 9 symbolizing salvation, 9 life, new life. We got here again, Hebrew and Chaldee letters. Now you have your grammatical numbers here with the letters. See that Teth again also is the 9th letter, the life number of the alphabet, right? Boom. Significant of the name. Remember, we saw it said life also. What they have, the serpent. The serpent is also representing life. You remember what that Ouroboros meant also. Qabbalah, 4 elements of the universe. Here we have again these symbols pointing down water, pointing up fire. And look what we have here. We have the shield here. You have your cubes within inside the Qabbalah tree, the tree of life. Here you have your earthly kingdom, your lower self. You work your way up into the inner chambers, and you have your attributes, your earthly kingdom, your foundation, intuition, logic, love, mercy, judgment, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, intellect, heavenly kingdom when you reach the top, the Holy of Holies. So you have this here again. We have this little diagram here of Solomon's temple. And as you can see here, Malkuth, which is, sorry about that, which is this first spear at the bottom. That's called Malkuth. And if you can look here, Malkuth is the mouth. Speech, revelation, feet is represented by the feet. And then as you go up, you got your left leg, your right leg. And they also have different qualities also. Your torso, your right arm, left arm, central brain. Saying your left brain, your right brain. Because I remember some of you brothers know about your left and your right brain, the symbolism with that. And you have your skull and the crown chakra. Also, it's the same thing as chakras. It's the same layout. As you can see here, they break it down in a pyramid. See, you have your sacrificial altar here, darkness and sin, your lower self, the ulam. You move your way up into Hakal, the stairway, light, ascension. You become the bride. You go through the veil, become a bride. And you have your crown of glory. Over here, you have some also things we're going to get into a little more too. The pyramid solar system, solar symbol from the docu about the rebuilding of the temple for Lucifer in Jerusalem. Let's move on. Here we got here the cube and the star. You see here, we have that 6-pointed star with that 7th point in the middle, but it's represented here on a triangle. And you have your cube all laid out. The cube and the star, by connecting the 10 dots, the tetraxes, 9 triangles are formed. 6 of these are involved with forming of the cube. The same triangles, when line are properly drawn between them, also reveal the 6-pointed star with a dot in the center. Only 7 dots are used in forming the cube and the star. Kabbalistically, the 3 unused corner dots represent the threefold invisible causal universe, while the 7 dot evolved in the cube in the star of the Elohim. The spirits of the 7 creative periods, Sabbath and 7th day is the central dot. And Chris, this is when we get into Pythagoreanism. Sorry, I think I had another slide that's not here. But if you could go over this real quick and stuff for us. Bless us with that. Still there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm still here. What part of Pythagorism do you want me to go over?
Let's start from this clip here from this book where it's going through these different things like proceed to swallow in your house, offer not your right hand easily to anyone.
All right.
Well, I can read this first real quick, and I guess you can go about Pythagoreanism. The philosopher Philo, the historian, expressed his admiration for the most sacred sect of Pythagoreans. It is possible that he was associated with the secret Neo-Pythagorean school of Alexandria. When you go into Alexandria at the time, white people was running Egypt. If it wasn't for the white man, we wouldn't have a lot of these books and a lot of these things that we have today. The white man, he made pretty much a pretty good library and stuff and kept it intact. So we owe them for that in Egypt. Some scholars suggest that he was initiated into the temple cult, and it's significant that he gave the only original description of the Therapeutic, a Jewish fraternity. I want everybody to get this word here. THERAPPEUTEAE. Sorry. Look that up. Some pretty deep stuff we're talking about. It's a Jewish fraternity that lived on the shores of Lake Mareotis outside Alexandria. And these therapy people, these were the Essenes. These are also part of the Essene group. In the 1st century AD, Conybeare argues that the term therapy referred to a religious guild, and that Greek readers of Philo would have viewed the fraternity as a guild of collegia in the Alexandrian Roman sense. Provocatively, Conybeare then compares the guild of Therapy to the modern Freemason. The Jewish guilds. Okay, Chris, if you can speak about the Pythagoreans a little bit.
All right. Now, we all know that Pythagoras lived between 590 BCE, and some scholars say he lived around 575 BCE. So this is an interesting parallel to some of the Essene teachings, not as much as the Zadokite teachings, but the Essene teachings, because the Essenes, they were ascetics and mystics. So we have to understand that. So I'm going to read something. The teachings of Pythagoras indicate that he was thoroughly conversant with the precepts of the Oriental and Occidental esotericism. He traveled among the Jews and was instructed by the rabbis concerning the secret traditions of Moses, the lawgiver of Israel. Later, the school of the Essenes was conducted chiefly for the purpose of interpreting Pythagorean symbols. Pythagoras was initiated into Egyptian, Babylonian, and the Chaldean mystery school system. Although it is believed by some that he was a disciple of Zoroaster, it is doubtful whether his instructor of that name was the god-man now revered by the Persians. While accounts of his travels differ, historians agree that he visited many countries and studied at the feet of many masters. Now, these are some things, the Pythagorean fundamentals that are taught. And I want to read this to you all because they align almost identically with some of the teachings of the Essenes. Now, notice I'm not saying the Zadokites, but the Essenes. Watch. This is some of their things they live by. Declining from public ways, they walk in unfrequented paths. By this, it is to be understood that those who desire wisdom must seek it in solitude. Govern your tongue before all things, following the gods or God. The aphorism warns man that his words, instead of representing him, misrepresent him, and that when in doubt as to what he should say, he should always be silent. Point 3, the blowing wind, adore the sound. Pythagoras here reminds his disciples that the fiat God is heard in the voice of elements, and that all things in nature manifest through harmony, rhythm, order, or procedure, the attributes of deity. Assist a man in raising a burden, but do not assist him in laying it down. We see that Jesus, he also taught, walk with your brother, what? A mile. Let's see. The student is instructed to aid the diligent, but never to assist those who seek to evade their responsibilities, for it is a great sin to encourage insolence. Speak not about Pythagorean concerns without light. The world is herein warned that it should not attempt to interpret the mysteries of God, and that the states of sciences without spiritual and intellectual illumination. Having departed from your house, turn not back, for the Furies will be your attendants. Pythagoras here warns his followers that any who begin to search for truth, and after having learned part of the mystery, become discouraged and attempt to return again to their former ways of vice and ignorance, will suffer exceedingly. For it is better to know nothing about divinity than to learn little and then stop without learning at all. Once again, these teachings parallel the teachings of Jesus very closely. Let's see. Nourish a, I don't want to say this word, but I'll just say it. We're mature here. Nourish a cock, but sacrifice it not, for it is sacred to the sun and moon. We know the Essenes did not practice sacrifices. They did not believe in it. They believed that all animals were what? Sacred to the Creator. Two great lessons are concealed in this aphorism. The first is warning against the sacrifice of living things to the gods, because life is sacred and that man should not destroy it, even as an offering to the deity. The second warns man that the human body here is referred to as a cock is sacred to the sun and the moon, and should be guarded and preserved as man's most precious medium of expression. Pythagoras also warned his disciples against suicide. Okay, let's continue. Receive not a swallow into your house. This warns the seeker after truth not to allow drifting thoughts to come into his mind, nor shiftless persons to enter into his life. He must ever surround himself with rationality-inspired thinkers and with conscientious workers. Now we see Jesus says, go forth, tell everybody about the gospel. If they allow you in their house, receive them. If not, shake them off like the dust on their feet. We see him teaching these things that are very parallel to what he taught. Let's go, continue on. Offer not your right hand easily to anyone. This warns the disciple to keep his own counsel and not offer wisdom and knowledge to such that are incapable of appreciating them. The hand here represents truth. That's your right hand. Watch this, which raises those who have fallen because of ignorance. But as many of the unregenerate do not desire wisdom, they will cut off the hand that is extended in kindness to them. Time alone can affect the redemption of the ignorant masses. We also see many times where Jesus says, the sheep that go to the right hand will inherit the kingdom. Those that go to the left hand will inherit everlasting shame. We see him give that lesson. It not maybe it's not saying it, but it parallel it very closely. Let's continue on. When rising from the bedclothes, roll them together and obliterate the impression of the body. Pythagoras directed his disciples who had awakened from the sleep of ignorance into walking into the waking state of intelligence to eliminate from their reconciliation of all memory of their former spiritual darkness. For a wise man in passing leaves no form behind him, which others less intelligent, seeing shall use a mold for the casting of idols. So Pythagoras had many disciples, just as Jesus had many disciples. So what we're seeing here is an amalgamation of teachings and an understanding that all of these things paralleled. And Pythagoras existed before Jesus, and these teachings, as he said, he walked amongst the Essenes, and he learned from them also. So we see a lot of the, how can I sit up there and say it? Some of the same teachings paralleling each other with Pythagoras teachings and the Essene teachings. So yeah, go ahead. You can have it.
So in other words, like when you, like a lot of these people will keep these teachings from you and string you along to have your time, your talents, to have your, you know what I mean? Your, all your attention. These people are after attention and all types of other things. They'll string you along. They'll tell you that only God gave them these certain rituals and understandings and stuff like that. Look into this stuff. All you have to do is reverse engineer what they're saying to you, and you'll come to the truth like we're coming to here, where a lot of this stuff all came from. We will return to the sexual. Let's move on. Thanks, Chris, for going over that with us. We will return to the sexual mystery associated in Jerusalem temple. When we examine the development of Gothic masonry, however, it will be useful now to examine the nature of the craft mystery of the working Masonic guilds during the reconstruction of the Second Temple. Though Herod utilized the Jewish builders of Palestine, he relied especially on the Jewish artisan guilds of Alexandria, which were known for their skills. These Jewish masons, carpenters, and sculptors were also members of the General Union and craftsmen of Alexandria, and they often collaborated with other pagan counterparts in various building enterprises. The Jews were officially forbidden to participate in the pagan mystery rites, but they were certainly aware of the elaborate and moving spectacles. For both pagan and Jewish stonemasons, and most relevant rites were those of Neo-Pythagorean fraternities, which played an important role in the intellectual and spiritual climate of Alexandria and Jerusalem. Given the central role of geometry and the planning and mechanics of the Mason's craft, it seems certain that Jewish Masonic guilds included Pythagorean geometry in their studies. Lieberman argues that Pythagorean symbolism had an important influence on the whole temple cult. Now, this stuff here predates Freemasonry. As you can see, there's nothing new under the sun. This is another thing. I think Chris already went over this. I just missed the page of the slide. He dealt with a lot of different mathematical things. This is something from the Thelmic Encyclopedia, the Encyclopedia for Thelma, which is like a ritual magic fraternity. Ritual signs are positions assumed by the body, whether physical or astral. Their use is common in Thelmic ritual magic. The following sets of signs were assigned by Aleister Crowley to the various grades of his order, the AA. The first sets, neophyte, elemental grade signs, and LVX signs, were derived from the grade signs of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Such signs often have multiple uses and meanings, depending on the context. There is a member of the past group I was associated with. He was very in depth with this. Actually, he was part of the things that I showed you earlier with the cubic stone. And here we have some of their symbolism. Look at this shield there. Look at the design of that shield here. It looks pretty familiar. I know all of your brothers here, you have that cross. This is a symbol of our Cyrus slain, the cross. It shows the arms out. It's the symbolism here of Osiris risen. Now, it says Osiris risen, the pentagram, attitude of resurrection. Stand upright, arms crossed over the chest, right over left, so the open hands rest on the shoulders. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that the who's that Tutankhamun's tomb? Or I don't know if all pharaohs had the same design when they have the hook and flail and their arms crossed.
Oh yeah, that's that sign they was using in the Black Panther movie when they would high five each other. Wakanda forever. As we go on, speaking of Osirism and resurrection, and we're gonna see here, you see that word pentagram that's associated with Osiris and resurrection, right? Remember that little shield right there. Just in case you're wondering, here in the English translation of the end of Mark from the Codex Sinaiticus, as you can see, the resurrection is there. There's a rumor going on that saying that the Codex Sinaiticus doesn't have the resurrection. The part that you're talking about was taken out, but once again, people don't look up these things. This person told me this when I first joined the group. I looked it up. I figured it out in like 5 minutes. But you let people have their fun. But
when the Sabbath, let's read it here. And when the Sabbath, Mark 16:1, and when the Sabbath had passed, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices, and that they might come and anoint him. This is Jesus, Yahushua. And very early on the first of the week, they came to the sepulchre, the sun having risen. And you know who wrote this thing? Marcos and Nazarene. And they say among themselves, who shall roll away for us the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And looking up, they see that the stone had been rolled away, for it was very great. And they entered the sepulchre and saw a young man sitting at the right side, clothed in a white robe. The Nazarenes were known for wearing white, and they were amazed. But he says to them, be not amazed. You see Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. You seek Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they lay him? But go, tell the disciples, especially Peter, that he goes before you in Galilee. There you shall see him. And he said to you, and going out, they fled from the sepulchre, for trembling and astonishment had seized them. And they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. As we can see here, you see that shield I was showing you before. And we see this hand symbol right here. Now, we saw this hand symbol out of the OTO encyclopedia. Water, the goddess of Ouroboros. The thumbs, thumbs, the index fingers place their hands together in the torso, making a triangle pointing down, which is also synonymous with this. That Jesus symbol, that feminine quality. Apart from the cross, the most habitual symbol of Christianity in this, the Essenes, known to us as the Jesus fish. One of the names given to pre-Jesus Jesus fish is the Vesica Pisces, vessel of the fish. And it was used as a symbol of every female fertility god ever. From Artemis, the Syrian fertility goddess, Aphrodite, Venus, the goddess of love and sex, to the pagan great mother goddess, where it symbolizes her life-giving vulva. Now, we can also see too another symbol that was associated with Jesus, and it has the same qualities as this, representing Venus. Let's move on. Here we have that symbol here also. This is an OTO member, I believe, too. Sign of practice. And we see here Haile Selassie also making that same symbol here. This is an artifact. There's a lot of people saying that this is a hoax. It's not real. This is actually dated before the AD times. A lot of people say it's a hoax. There's only one church that it's a new cult type church that holds on to this thing. Actually, that place where they said it was the first church that James, the brother of Jesus, Yahushua, ran, the first church in Jerusalem. This symbol they said they found in there, which is, there you go, the Vesica Pisces, the fish, making this feminine with the masculine on top, and with the menorah here, menorah branches. There is many connections between the pentagram and Christianity. Before the cross, listen, all you Christians, you Masonic Israelites, before the cross, it was a preferred emblem to adorn jewelry and amulets in early Christians, followed by the X or the Phoenix. The pentagram was associated with the 5 wounds of Christ, just because it could be drawn in one continuous movement with the pen. If anybody that knows about when they do witchcraft and stuff, they have to do a ritual that calls like a banishing ritual. And I forgot the other name of the ritual. Well, basically what it is, you draw, you point to the four corners of the earth, and you draw the pentagram with your wand. As you saw at the top of the thing where I showed those tools for witchcraft, the wand, you would draw that symbol. And what it would do, it would banish whatever spirits that they are before you close out your ritual. So after you're done with your ritual, you would do the banishing ritual, where you would make that sign with the pentagram in the four corners. And that supposedly, I guess, put the whatever spirit you're dealing with back where they was and stuff like that. And it allows you to step outside of that pentagram. I mean, out of that hexagram with the circle. You do this within the hexagram. There's actually a ritual within the hexagram and a ritual within the pentagram with a circle around it. The pentagram association with the 5 wounds of Christ. It could be drawn in one continuous moment with the pen. The alpha and the omega as one. A point down pentacle is nothing new, nor is it necessarily satanic when it appears as such. Historically, depictions of the pentagram were as likely to be points down as point up, and distinction between one or the others were really made by the ancients. Let's move on. Perhaps most curious is the pentagram as it relates to early Christianity. Constantine, the Roman emperor who converted to Christianity, chose to use the pentagram on his seal and amulet. Up until medieval times, the 5 points of the pentagram represented the 5 wounds of Christ on the cross. During these times, the pentagram carried no evil implications at all. And in fact, in a lesser way than the cross was symbolic of the Savior. Up until medieval times, the 5 points of the pentagram represented the 5 wounds of Christ on the cross. It was a symbol of Christ, the Savior. This is a stark contrast to the day that the pentagram is criticized by modern fundamentalist Christians as being a symbol of evil. The church eventually chose the cross as a more significant symbol for Christianity, and the use of the pentagram as a Christian symbol gradually ceased. The pentagram was actually the first symbol used for Christianity. Go figure. Pictured, First Presbyterian Church in Apache, Texas. Still on the building. You see there, pentagram. Perhaps most curious is the pentagram as it relates to early Christianity. Constantine, the Roman emperor, converted to the, I already read this. This is, but no, it's not. It's a different one. Choose the pentagram on his seal and amulet. No, I did went over it. Yeah, I already read that. Okay, here is a picture of the ruins of the synagogue of Capernaum. This is Capernaum. This is the ruins of that synagogue. And as you can see here, this is a interlocking pentagram that you see like on the Moorish flag. It's right there, bang. The early Catholic bishop and church historian Essenes of Salamis, 320 to 403 AD, who is best known for putting together a compilation of heresies from the days of the early Christianity up into his own time. Essenes described these heretics, the Nazarene Essenes, as Jews by nationality, originally from Galileans, Bashantis, and the Transjordan. They acknowledged Moses and believed that he had received laws, not this law, however, but some other law, And so they were Jews who kept all the Jewish observances, but they would not offer sacrifice or eat meat. They considered it unlawful to eat meat or make sacrifice with it. They claimed that these books are fictions. They believed that the Torah, some of the books of the Torah were fictions, and that none of these customs were instituted by the fathers. This was a difference between the Nazarenes and the others. According to the modern scholar Peter Gorman, in his book Pythagoras and Life, faithful were divided into two ranks: disciples who lived in a commune, sharing all possessions, and larger groups called charismatics, whose dedication was less consuming. The disciples lived faithfully in step like their guru. Like Pythagoras, they ate lightly, taking neither meat or fish. They slept sparingly, drank no alcohol, insisted on monogamy. Sounds like a cult. For this group, not one named themselves after Christ or with Jesus' own name, but Nazarene. All Christians were called Nazarenes once, before the disciples began to be called Christians at Antioch. They were so-called followers of the apostles. They dedicated themselves to the law. However, everyone called the Christians Nazarenes, as I said before. Tertullius prosecutes Paul, but in order not to burden you any further, I beg your indulgence to hear us briefly. We have found this man to be a nuisance, stirring up dissension among the Jews all over the world. He is the ringleader of the Nazarenes. That's Paul, called the ringleader of the Nazarenes. And he even tried to desecrate the temple. So we seized him. Let's move on. It is believed that early Christians were responsible for naming the Shoshan the Madonna lily, which doesn't take much imagination to understand why. The lyrics of the old hymn goes, he's the lily of the valley, the bright and morning star. Here we have here, this is Jesus in the pentagram representing the 5 wounds of Christ. You see the points on the body here. Pagan cults ascribed to the pentagram. Medieval Christians did. Constantine did, like we read before. Many others. The endless knot, it was called. During long periods of Inquisition, the pentagram was seen to symbolize a goat head. In the purge of witches, the horned god Pan became equated with the devil, a Christian concept in the pentagram. For the first time in history, became the symbol of evil and was called the witch's foot. As Jesus moved about in Judea and Galilee, he crossed now with the path of a particular order of men, whose white garments, kindly faces, and earnest men would attract attention whenever seen. While among men, they were not of them. They were monks before the time of monotheism, devoted to the life of purity, poverty, and service. Remember, they donated all their stuff to the community. They were like what do you call them? Like the Russian communists. These were the Essenes, that strange expression of religious life in Judaism, having its headquarters in the Western shore of the Dead Sea. Let's move on. I want to try to speed this up a little bit for you guys. By no interpretation of the law could the Essenes derive from it the injunction to worship the sun. The Essenes were also known as the Essenes were also known as sun gazers. They used to gaze at the sun. To abstain from bloody sacrifices such as were daily offered in the temple, and to eschew marriage, and to hold themselves aloof from the life and interests of the nation. This is more on that cubic stone oracle. It got to do with the Talmud and stuff like that. I'm going to move over this one here. You guys should check that out. Talk about the Stoner Foundation and stuff. If you can see here, some of these guys here, they're using the Sephiroth. They're using the Tree of Life. They claim that they don't use Qabbalah. There you see it right there. As you can see here, we got make screen bigger here. This is the Tree of Life. And as you know, there's different attributes and stuff in the Tree of Life. Like we're taught, like the people talk about the Temple Man. As you can see here, these things represent the same thing that this person has taught about the Temple Man, even with the attributes of the different places and stuff within the temple. You can lay the temple right on top of this, and it represents the same thing. You'll start at Makuf, was the root, was like the sacrificial altar, and you work your way up into the temple and stuff, into the Holy of Holies there. Let's move on. These are attributes within the points, as we've seen that with different points and stuff in the cube and stuff having different attributes. Here we go again. Same thing. The altar, the porch. You move it up to the top. Here you have it again. The same thing with it has the shield laid on top of it, so you know what you're dealing with that circle. So the heaven and celestial subjective in the real world of light. And where are you going to here? To that eye, that sacred closed eye. It's the thing here on mana. I can skip over this. This is kind of a little off from what we're talking about here. It's another thing on Pythagoras. The Greek mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras, 5 was the number for man. Because of the fivefold divisions of the body, the ancient Greek division of the soul, according to Pythagoras, the 5 points of the pentagram each represented one of the 5 elements: fire, air, the water, and the psyche. Let's move on. He goes on again talking about how it also meant the 5 wounds of Christ, and possibly due to connection between the early Christians, the Pythagorean mysteries. Later, the pinnacle was important in many doctrines of esoteric, medieval, and Renaissance belief systems: alchemy, Qabbalah, and ceremonial magic. During the times of Hebrew scriptures, the pinnacle was the first and most important of the 7 seals. The omelet, whose seals represent the 7 sacred names of God, it was enshrined to the king of Solomon, which often called Solomon's seal in error. Each point of the pentagram was also interpreted as referring to the 5 books of Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Hebrew scripture. The Torah of the Hebrews, the 5 points of the pentagram, were tied to the Pentateuch. Skip over this one. The Essene orders differed on marriage and children. Check this out. They generally were celibates, but they were exceptions. Josephus says that they adopted children for instruction, but Philo says that they were to be no children because they would be a hindrance. Because, you know, on the New Testament also say, like, what was it? In scripture, it says that woe to him who's with child in that time of trouble. I'm just paraphrasing how that scripture went. With regard to marriage, Philo affirms that the Essenes banned marriage because women were selfish, jealous, deceitful, seducing, and leading the sovereign mind into bondage to her and the care of children. You see that a lot of these Hebrew Israelite camps have that same mentality. One of the sisters and stuff that we're friends with sent a Facebook link where a brother misused the scripture to oppress his wife. But Josephus says that marriage was important for the continuation of the race. Therefore, there were Essenes that married and had sexual intercourse only for the purpose of procreation. Josephus is probably correct because he lived with the Essenes for 3 years. Philo seems to be turning the information towards Greek philosophy. Here's a chart here where we see the differences between the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and the Essenes. As you see here, the authority for the Essenes was the teacher of righteousness. They had no social class. Inspired exegesis, however you say that, and practices. Their calendar was solar, while the Pharisees were lunar and solar. The attitude toward Hellenism, the Essenes wasn't dealing with it. They were against it. The other ones were selective and for it. Said the Hashmoneans personally opposed to Jonathan. Free will, they used no free will in the Essenes, where the Sadducees mostly, and they did have free will. Afterlife, spiritual survival for the Essenes. Resurrection, Pharisees, none for the Sadducees. Inspired exegesis for the Bible and the oral Torah. So they also believed in the oral Torah, like the Talmud. Where the other ones didn't, and they said, and the Pharisee believed that it was equal to the written Torah. Let's move on. Skip over that one. Oh, this there. Oh, right on. That's it. That's it. So yeah, that's about it. Chris, you still there?
No, I fell asleep listening to the whole lesson.
Yeah, sorry it took so long and stuff, but you know,
No,
I had less slides.
It was a good lesson. It was a good lesson. I appreciate it. You
Yeah.
kept your promise too. You kept your promise too, so I appreciate that one also. So,
sorry I had so many slides and stuff, but
no, man, that's cool. You know what? I did like the fact that you showed where they saw children as being a hindrance, and it says, "Woe to them who have children in that day." You see what I'm saying? I'd be telling people these people were Essenes, and one of the things I noticed is Christian not gonna listen. They suffer from what I call repressed slave syndrome. You know what I'm saying? So they were told to be slaves and read the Bible when we got off them boats. You know what I'm saying? So it's just another fight that we dealing with right now. So yeah, exactly. So you know what?
I don't want to swear. I don't want to call. We keep the language right out here and stuff. But we know what these other people say, the terms and stuff that they make for people and stuff that don't want to don't want to submit to their bidding and their commands and stuff. We know how that gets. So they were doing the same thing. They were doing the same thing to people, following all that craziness. Yeah, this basically everybody, study your leaders, especially. It can save you a lot of time, a lot of aggravation, a lot of money. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's about it. Just be careful what's going on out there. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Some of these people worshiping Satan right in your face. If you want to look at it like that, I'm not really making any claims to anything. It's all open for your interpretation. Also from this presentation, a lot of you Christians and Masonic Hebrew Israelites and stuff, you guys got some daggers and stuff to go against these OP people. You know what I mean? So these people that claim Nazarene and stuff, hey, they were Christians. They believed in Jesus. As you see that Coed Sinaiticus, resurrection is in there. Said he's risen. So, I just gave you something so y'all don't have to, because y'all already getting beat up with that Isaiah 53, and Chris ain't letting y'all breathe on that Daniel 9. So, you know what I mean? That's something else. But I believe you can hold that one, though. If you grab this and stuff, I believe it's all right for you to hold on to that. I don't think nobody's going to beat up on you about that. I don't think nobody going to beat up on you on that. So,
yeah. Well, I guess in closing,
yeah, like I told his other brother, Shalam, peace to him. The last presentation I made like a few years ago, I said, "Hey, what you gonna do now?" You know what I mean? There's some decisions some brothers gotta make. You know what I mean? Once you get the information, and I'm not saying take all of this stuff, from what I'm saying, research it yourself, and ask questions. There's nothing wrong. There's no such thing as a stupid question. So. Ask your leaders to understand. If they don't want to answer you, they want to beat around the bush and stuff, keep it moving. Keep it moving. It's only going to get worse.
That's very true. That's very true. And like I said,
but thanks a lot for having me on, Chris. I appreciate it. I hope to come back with some more information, maybe with some less slides on some other subjects, because there's a lot of stuff out here I wanted to get in depth with. But I'll save it for another presentation this time.
Okay, well, with that being said, we're going to close out. Hope y'all enjoyed the lesson. Peace.
Hey.